Hey, Cookies here. I just got done with a heroic farm with the guild that I raid with just 1 day a week on Sundays. We just raid like 4 hours a week, and it's kind of just a group of like old friends and stuff that are raiding together. So nothing crazy like progression based or anything, but we are planning to like gradually push through Mythic on like a 1 night a week schedule, and we just have some priest logs here. And after making the Disc Priest ramp video, I just want to kind of go over some of these logs, and we're going to start with Shriekwing, and we're just going to talk about what I could have done better, maybe what I'm doing correctly, and just kind of help other people see how to look over a Disc Priest log, and also just how to play Disc Priest. Though we're not looking at like actual gameplay, we're just looking at logs. So I guess the first thing that I always look for is we want to find out where the raid was taking damage and what the boss was casting. So we have our log here. I'll go back to the start. We're going to hit damage taken up here at the top, and then at the top right, we switch taken by friendly to taken from ability. This will let us filter it by boss ability, and the obvious one here that we need to use raid cooldowns for, like healer cooldowns and stuff, is going to be Wave of Blood. That's pretty much all that does damage to the raid. Besides that, it's just kind of during downtime and stuff like that, so it's not good to ramp for. So Wave of Blood is what we want to ramp for, and that's how you can see these like intervals of when it happens. So from looking at this right here, we should be ramping for every 2 Wave of Bloods. And I think the best way of going about it would be to ramp, because we can ramp once every minute with Spirit Shell. So we would want to ramp this second one probably, this fourth one, this fifth one, and then we just go like keep going from there, seventh, and then the last one. Or we could do like first, third, and so on. So we're looking for every 2. So we have this tracked, and now we're going to go to cast here up at the top. We're going to go to ourself, which is Soul Kitchen, and then we're going to click on our important abilities that matter, and we're just going to hit this little plus button over here on the right to add it to the timeline up here, because we want to line it up with these Wave of Bloods and just see, how it lined up compared to where we should have been using things. So what we're going to track is always Power Word Radiance, Spirit Shell, Mind Vendor, and that should be all that we need to track as a Disc Priest with Spirit Shell. So here's our ramps. So we have the first major thing that we're always looking for is that like 2-1-2 pattern that I mentioned in the previous ramp video. So we have, 1 ramp here, we have 1 right here. So this is already a big mistake right here that's happening because we have no like double ramp that ever happened. I think maybe I ramped, yeah, that's why. Okay, I double ramped here at the beginning pre-pull. So I used both my Radiances before the boss actually got pulled. So this is actually okay, but there still is a mistake right here. So what it should be is we use those 2 pre-pull, and then we use this 1, and then there should be 2 right here again for this third one. But I think the way it lined up is, it seems like we just didn't have enough time for it because Spirit Shell comes up like right as it's hitting, and we want it to come up before, so that makes the timing really awkward. So we should have just held Spirit Shell and maybe just did like another single Radiance and then use Spirit Shell here for the 130. And then it looks like we can go ahead and we'll just skip to we'll see like what went wrong here, because I want to see what happened with this like double Radiance that happened. Obviously, I can already kind of tell what happened. If we reset the zoom really quick, we can see that this single Radiance right here is used too late, so we don't get it back until right here. And that's why it causes a problem, because we don't have both Radiance charges when we need them for the damage. So it kind of gets all messed up there. So we'll go ahead and skip to like one of the Radiances that are over here. And it looks like we keep... I mean, honestly, Shriekwing is just a fight where it's really awkward because the Wave of Bloods like line up not every 30 seconds. They're like every 20 seconds. So you have to do... So maybe you can't do every other. You might have to do every third. So like, for instance, you would go ramp this first one, ramp this fourth one before the phase ends, and then the phase starts again, and it looks like you would be able to ramp here again because we have a minute timer between the intermissions. So then you ramp for the first, and then you'd ramp for the fourth again. So you keep doing like first and fourth. So the beginning and end of every phase is when you should ramp, now that I'm looking at it. Because you can't really do it any other way. If you ramp anywhere in here, you're not going to have it back up by the time that the phase is over. So we will go ahead and zoom into this and just see if there's anything that we could have done better. So the first thing is obviously we use our cooldowns way too late. Again, I think it's just a matter of timing, and now that I know that I want to ramp the first and fourth, so the start and the finish of every phase, that'll help a lot for future pulls when I go in here and plan that accordingly, because I was trying to do every other wave of blood, and that was messing up all my timings, and that's why you see these like late spirit shells and stuff. So for instance, these two radiances, this spirit shell, this mindbender, it should all be moved back like all the way here to like 254 or 256. So that we're building up that shield before the wave of blood happens. Because what happens here is we build the shield up and then it's not as effective because we're going to lose a lot of the value. But we can still check out like our cast and see how we did the ramp and see if we did the ramp correctly. So here we start the ramp, we start with a power word shield. I think during this we had, I believe we had Innervate. Let's make sure that we had Innervate. Did we have an Innervate? I do not see Innervate on here. So it looks like we did not have Innervate. So that means that we should not be using Shadowmend here. We should be using Power Word Shields. So this should be first Shadowmend, or even this should be our first Shadowmend into Power Word Shield, because we should always do one Shadowmend and then Power Word Shield spam, and it should be 1, 2. I guess we'll count this Power Word Shield, even though it's a little bit strange. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's good. That's typically what your ramp is going to be. It all depends on your haste. I know in the video I said kind of like 7 to 9, but that's once you have a lot of haste or bloodlust or power. If you're power infusing yourself, which if you're in like a higher end guild or you're progging content, you shouldn't normally be using power infusion on yourself. You should be using it on DPS players that need it. So typically, just as a general estimate, you should be going for about 7 atonements. Like that should be your goal for now. And then once you have higher haste, or you can use power infusion on yourself, or things like that, then you can start going for like 9. But we'll just use 7 as a general rule. But again, you have to play with it yourself and see like what works for you and what is causing you not to lose atonements at the end of your ramp. So we have 7 atonements put out. And then it looks like we have to move for a mechanic, so that is super unfortunate because now we're going to lose all these early atonements a lot sooner, and that's not going to help our ramp at all. We Radiance after we recover from the movement. We refresh our dot. We have to move again, it looks like, or there's some kind of targeting issue. And then we Radiance again. This might just be... It's definitely a little bit late, but it's partially just the global cooldown, obviously. So, Power Word Radiance, and then we have Purge, Radiance, Mindbender, and Spirit Shell used together. We have Schism. We have Mind Blast first. This is incorrect, and we have Penance next, which is incorrect. This should be Spirit Shell into Schism into Mind Games, Mind Blast, Penance. That should be the order that it always goes. And if we have Halo, then we throw in Halo after Mind Games. So then it would go Mind Games, Halo, Mind Blast, Penance. Because you want your most damaging abilities to go first in the order, because then they'll apply the biggest absorb to the players who are losing their atonements before you get like these kind of final cast off. So because we did this order, a lot of those atonements that happened at the beginning, especially because we had to do this movement right here, completely fall off, and the mind games will not hit them at all and apply a huge absorb to them, which is a big problem. And then we have our Smite Spam, which it looks like we only get 3 out, and then we have to move for something again because we use another feather. So this is kind of just messed up all over the place. I know our group was doing like kind of a weird like prepping for Mythic strat on Shriekwing, so that's probably the cause of like why we're kind of making so many mistakes. But we can also check this ramp. This looks like it was almost good, but again, it looks like it was too late. So we press Spirit Shell at 504. The damage happens at 506. So this needs to be moved back to about like 456 or 458. So we missed it by about 6 seconds, which is still quite a significant amount. So that just needs to be moved back a little bit more. And then we can check our cast again to see how we did. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 again. And then we did our Radiance dot Radiance. We interrupted our Schism, and that's because I noticed I started casting Schism and I didn't press my Spirit Shell yet. I think I was kind of mashing the button as I was casting Radiance and it just didn't go off, so I just wasn't patient enough. So I canceled the Schism cast, pressed Spirit Shell, Schism, Mind Games, Mind Blast, Penance. That's good, but we do not have any smites here at the end, and it's because we have to move again for something, which this is another big problem, because not having a bunch of smites at the end is going to waste a lot of this atonement healing to what we could have potentially done. So, going over all these mistakes and seeing all this, we still ended up with a very high parse. If we look at, where is this? If we look at our total healing, we still ended with a 97 parse across all Disc Priests. Obviously, parsing is not going to mean a lot in a lot of cases. Orange parses usually mean that you are doing a lot of healing, but it also can just be as simple as like the other healers aren't healing as much as they could be or should be, or whatever you might want to say, or maybe you're running one less healer than most groups run, or maybe you killed the boss really fast. If your kill times are really quick, then your parses are going to typically be higher as a healer. So there's a lot that plays into it, but I feel like we played the fight pretty poorly and still did really well. So if we just go in and try to fix these mistakes next time, we'll see how we do. Maybe we can land a little bit higher on a parse, or maybe we can kill the boss faster or avoid deaths and stuff like that. So hopefully this was helpful. We'll go over a lot of the other bosses, so expect those. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.